During Christmas, she replaced her aunt as a maid, never knowing the millionaire guest would change her life forever. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, it is free, and it is the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Please drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. It is Christmas Eve, and the snow outside falls softly, like the world itself has decided to slow down for one night. Inside a sprawling estate just outside the city, warm golden lights glow through tall windows, reflecting off fresh snow and perfectly trimmed hedges. From the outside, the house looks like something from a holiday card. From the inside, it feels quiet, controlled, and carefully managed. Our main character kneels on the cold marble floor, a folded cloth in her hands, moving in slow, careful circles. The stone beneath her palms is icy, even through the thin fabric. She exhales softly and keeps going. The black and white maid uniform does not quite fit her. The sleeves are a little too long. The apron sits awkwardly at her waist. This is not her job. She is only here because her aunt hurt her wrist 3 days before Christmas, and someone had to step in. Just 3 days, she keeps telling herself. 3 days, and then I can go back to my real life. The house smells faintly of pine, polished wood, and something rich and expensive she cannot quite name. Somewhere far down the hallway, a clock ticks, slow and deliberate. Every sound in this place seems louder than it should be. Every movement feels watched, even when no one is there. Earlier that afternoon, the head housekeeper had looked her up and down and said, "This is a formal household. We do things properly here. No mistakes." There was no anger in the woman's voice, only certainty. The kind that leaves no room for error. She had nodded. Of course. She always nods. She works quietly, keeping her eyes down, making herself small. In houses like this, she knows the rules without being told. You do not stand out. You do not ask questions. You exist only when needed, and disappear the moment you are not. Then she hears the front door. It is not loud, but it is different. The low murmur of voices follows, along with the sound of boots against stone. She pauses, cloth pressed to the floor, and glances toward the hallway. A man steps inside, brushing snow from the shoulders of a worn dark coat. He is not dressed like the other guests she has seen arrive tonight. No tailored overcoat. No confident stride. He carries his own bag, simple and unremarkable, and his hair is slightly out of place, as if the cold wind did not bother to respect him. One of the staff speaks quietly to him, gesturing toward a side corridor. You will be in the east wing, the guest room near the service stairs. The man nods, polite, reserved. As he turns, his eyes briefly meet hers. It is only a second, long enough for her to notice that his gaze does not slide past her like most do. Long enough for him to notice that she is here, on the floor, working on Christmas Eve. Neither of them speaks. She lowers her eyes again and resumes wiping the marble, her movements steady, practiced. She tells herself he is just another guest. Someone temporary. Someone who will be gone before the snow melts. She does not know his name. She does not know why he is here. And she has no idea that this quiet arrival, this unremarkable moment, is the beginning of something that will turn her life completely upside down. Because the man who just walked past her, carrying his own bag through his own house, is not what he seems. And the girl kneeling on the cold floor, trying not to be noticed, is about to be seen in a way she never has before. And that is where our story truly begins. The morning after Christmas Eve arrives quietly. Snow still clings to the edges of the windows, but inside the estate, everything moves on schedule. Lights come on at 6. Coffee brews in the staff kitchen. Shoes are lined neatly by the door. There is no pause for wonder here, no lingering holiday softness. Christmas, in this house, is an event. And events must be executed flawlessly. Our main character wakes up in the small service room just off the back hallway. The ceiling is low, the bed narrow. The air faintly smells of laundry detergent and old wood. She sits up slowly, rubbing her hands together for warmth, already thinking about the list in her head. Floors, glass, guest rooms, breakfast service. She checks her phone. 2 missed messages from her mother, sent late the night before. She does not open them yet. She already knows what they will say. The prescription is more expensive this month. The insurance does not cover it. They will figure it out, her mother always says, but the worry still settles heavy in her chest. This is why she said yes to replacing her aunt. This is why she pulled on a uniform that does not belong to her and took a bus an hour outside the city. This is why Christmas means overtime instead of family. She stands, smooths the apron, and steps into the hallway. Downstairs, the house is already awake. The head housekeeper moves through the kitchen like a general, issuing quiet instructions. The other staff members work quickly, heads down. No one is unfriendly, but no one is warm either. Everyone here understands the same unspoken rule. This job is a privilege, and privileges can be taken away. Guest in the East Wing arrived late last night. The head housekeeper says without looking at her. Room needs fresh towels and breakfast tray at 7:30. Do not disturb him more than necessary. She nods. Of course. As she walks toward the East Wing, carrying folded linens against her chest, she feels the familiar tightening in her shoulders. Guest rooms make her nervous. Guests mean expectations. Guests mean judgment. She knocks softly, waits, then enters when there is no answer. The room is large, but noticeably less extravagant than the others. No grand fireplace. No sweeping view. Just a clean bed, a writing desk, and a window looking out at bare trees dusted with snow. The man from the night before is not there. She exhales, relief passing through her, and begins her work. She replaces the towels, straightens the bed, wipes down the desk. Everything neat. Everything invisible. On the desk, she notices a folded coat laid carefully over the back of a chair. It is the same worn coat. From last night. Not expensive. Not new. For a house like this, it feels almost out of place. She hesitates, then gently moves it to hang properly in the closet. As she turns, she nearly bumps into him. "Oh, I am sorry," she says quickly, stepping back. He has changed, but not much. Simple sweater. Dark pants. No watch. No sign of the wealth that fills every corner of this house. He smiles, just a little, like someone who is used to keeping himself small. "I did not mean to startle you," he says. His voice is calm, unassuming. "That is okay," she replies. "I was just finishing up." He nods, then glances at the neatly arranged room. "You did all this already?" "Yes. It is part of the service." "On Christmas morning," he adds, not accusing, just noticing. She shrugs lightly. Some people still need things done. There is a pause. Not awkward, but unfamiliar. Most guests do not speak to her unless something is wrong. "I am staying out of the way," he says. "You do not need to worry about me." She almost laughs at that. Instead, she offers a polite smile and moves toward the door. As she leaves, she hears him say, "Thank you." The words stop her for half a second. "You are welcome," she thinks, but does not say out loud. Later, as the day unfolds, she learns more about him without trying to. He eats breakfast alone. He carries his own plate to the counter when no one is looking. He thanks the kitchen staff by name after reading it off their badges. Small things. Quiet things. She also notices how differently the others treat him. No hovering. No forced smiles. He is labeled, without explanation, as unimportant. And that is when something inside her shifts. Because she recognizes that feeling. Being overlooked. Being underestimated. Being seen as someone who does not matter. By the time evening comes, and Christmas lights glow softly against the falling snow, she realizes she is no longer just working around him. She is paying attention, and she has no idea that he is doing the exact same thing. By the third day, the house no longer feels entirely unfamiliar to her. Not comfortable, just predictable. She learns which floorboards creak near the grand staircase. She learns that the head housekeeper checks gloves for dust with a white cloth every afternoon. She learns that guests with real power never raise their voices, because they never have to. And she learns his routine. He wakes early, before most of the staff. He stands by the back window with a plain mug of coffee, looking out at the snow-covered trees as if he is not seeing them at all. He keeps to himself, never requesting anything special, never calling for service unless absolutely necessary. It would be easy to forget he is there. Except he does something no one else does. He notices her. It starts small. One afternoon, while she is refilling water glasses in the sitting room, she hears her name spoken softly behind her. Not mispronounced. Not rushed. She turns, surprised. "You dropped this," he says, holding out a folded piece of paper. It is a receipt. Old. Priest. She must have lost it from her pocket earlier. She thanks him quickly, embarrassed. He hesitates, then says, "Is everything all right?" The question catches her off guard. No one ever asks that here. The expected answer is always yes. Yes, she says automatically. He does not press. He just nods, as if he understands what that answer really means. Later that evening, she finds something unexpected in the staff kitchen. A small paper bag sits on the counter, clearly not part of the planned meals. Inside are 2 plain sandwiches and a note written in careful handwriting. For whoever missed lunch. She looks around. No one is watching. Slowly, she takes one. She does not ask where it came from. She already knows. That night, after finishing her duties, she steps outside for a moment of quiet. Snow crunches beneath her shoes. The cold bites through her thin coat. She wraps her arms around herself and breathes out, watching the white cloud fade into the dark. He is there too, standing a few feet away near the edge of the garden path. "Cold?" he asks. "A little," she admits. He slips off his gloves and hands them to her without thinking. She hesitates. "You do not have to," she says. "I know," he replies. "I want to." She takes them. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The estate behind them glows with light and music, laughter drifting faintly through the walls. Out here, it feels like another world. "You do not seem like you belong here," she says before she can stop herself. He smiles, but there is something tired in it. "Neither do you." She laughs softly at that. "I am only filling in for my aunt." "For Christmas," he says. "For Christmas," she confirms. "Do you get holidays off at your real job?" he asks. "Not really," she says. "I work whenever they need me." "And what would you do," he asks gently, "if you did not have to?" She thinks about it. Really thinks. The answer does not come easily. "I would probably sleep in," she says finally. "And then maybe take my mother to the lake near our apartment. She likes the quiet there." He nods, as if committing the image to memory. The next day brings a subtle shift. A guest snaps at her for being too slow with the tray. Another complains about the temperature of the room she does not control. She apologizes, because that is what she is supposed to do. He watches it all. She can feel his gaze sometimes, not judgmental, not protective, just aware. At one point, when a glass is knocked from her hands and shatters on the floor, she drops to her knees immediately to clean it up, heart racing. Before the head housekeeper can even speak, he steps forward. "I will take care of this," he says calmly, already picking up a broom. The room goes quiet. "You do not need to," someone says sharply. "I know," he replies, the same words he used with her before. "But I want to." She freezes, mortified. Afterward, she pulls him aside, voice low. "You should not do that. It puts a target on me." He looks at her, serious now. No one should be treated that way. She swallows. That is not how this world works. He does not argue. He simply says, "It should." That night, lying in the narrow bed of the service room, she stares at the ceiling, replaying the day. She tells herself not to read into things. He is just a guest. He will leave. Everyone always does. Still, something has been planted. A quiet question she cannot shake. Why would a man with nothing to gain choose to notice someone like her? And why does it feel like he is not just watching her work, but watching to see who she really is? By the 4th day, the silence between them changes. It is no longer the quiet of strangers sharing space. It is the quiet of 2 people who have begun to recognize each other, even if neither of them says it out loud. The house is busy that afternoon. A post-holiday gathering is planned for the evening, smaller than the Christmas event, but still formal. Guests arrive in expensive coats, shaking snow from their shoulders, voices loud with confidence. The staff moves faster, sharper, every step measured. She feels the pressure settle into her chest as she works. In the service hallway, she pauses for a moment to stretch her fingers, stiff from polishing glassware. That is when she hears footsteps behind her. "You look tired," he says gently. She turns, surprised again. He always seems to appear without announcing himself, like someone who has learned how to take up very little space. "I am fine," she says, the automatic answer. He studies her face for a second longer than most people would dare. "You say that the same way every time." That makes her smile, despite herself. It is a useful habit. He nods, as if that explains everything. They end up standing by the back counter, just out of view of the main hall. The noise from the party hums through the walls, muted and distant. Do you ever get used to this? He asks. To what? To being surrounded by people who do not see you. She exhales slowly. You learn where you fit. Or you learn how to disappear. He looks down at his hands. I have spent a lot of time disappearing. That surprises her. She almost asks him what he means, but the head housekeeper's voice cuts through the hallway, calling her name. Duty pulls her away before the moment can deepen. Later, during the gathering, the tension she has been carrying all day finally breaks. One of the guests, a man with a sharp voice and a careless smile, snaps his fingers at her when she passes with a tray. He speaks loudly, deliberately, making sure others hear. You people are all the same, he says, irritated. Do you not understand simple instructions? Her cheeks burn. She lowers her head and apologizes, even though she followed every request exactly. The man scoffs. If you cannot handle this, maybe you should find a different kind of work. Laughter ripples lightly through the room. Not loud, not cruel, just enough to remind her where she stands. She feels it then, the familiar tightening behind her eyes. The instinct to swallow everything down and keep going. She takes a breath, steadying herself. I am sorry, she says, her voice calm. I will fix it. As she turns away, she catches his gaze across the room. He is watching closely. For a moment, she expects him to step in, to say something, to defend her the way he did before. He does not. He stays seated, his expression unreadable, his hands folded loosely in his lap. Something sharp cuts through her chest. Of course he does not help, she tells herself. Why would he? He is just another guest. Just another man who can afford to stay silent. After the gathering ends, she retreats to the back corridor, heart pounding. She leans against the wall, eyes closed, willing the emotion to pass. You handled that with a lot of grace, his voice says quietly. She opens her eyes. I did not want grace, she replies, the words slipping out before she can stop them. I wanted someone to say it was wrong. He absorbs that, his jaw tightening slightly. I know. Then why did you not? She asks, finally looking directly at him. The question hangs between them, heavy and honest. Because I needed to know, he says slowly, what you would do if no one helped. Her breath catches. You needed to know, she repeats. Yes. She laughs softly, but there is no humor in it. So this was a test. He does not deny it. Anger flares, sharp and unexpected. You do not get to test people like that. You are right, he says. I do not. Then why are you here? She demands. He hesitates, and for the first time, she sees uncertainty on his face. Because I wanted to believe that kindness still exists without an audience. She shakes her head. You found it. Congratulations. She steps past him, heading toward the service stairs. He does not stop her. That night, she cannot sleep. She lies in the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction, every quiet kindness, every moment she thought meant something. The realization settles slowly and painfully. She was not just seen. She was being measured. And somewhere in the quiet of the house, the man in the East Wing sits alone, knowing that the line he crossed may cost him more than he expected. Because the more he learns about her, the harder it becomes to pretend that this is just an experiment. And the harder it becomes to remember which role he is supposed to be playing. The next morning feels heavier than the others. The house is quieter now. Some guests have already left, their departures marked only by empty rooms and half-melted snow where their cars once stood. The remaining staff moves more slowly, exhaustion settling into their bones after days of constant performance. She moves through her tasks on instinct alone. Polish. Wipe. Replace. Repeat. But something inside her has shifted, and she cannot put it back where it was. She avoids the East Wing entirely. Not because she is told to, but because she does not trust herself to see him without saying something she cannot take back. The kindness. The silence. The test. It all blurs together until she no longer knows which parts were real. During the late morning, the head housekeeper stops her near the pantry. There is a small issue, the woman says, her tone clipped. A guest reported a missing watch last night. Security is reviewing staff access. Her stomach drops. I did not take anything, she says immediately, the words tumbling out faster than she intends. I did not say you did, the woman replies coolly. But you were assigned to several rooms yesterday, including the sitting room. The message is clear. Proximity is suspicion. For the rest of the day, she feels eyes on her. Not hostile, Just alert. Every movement suddenly feels too visible. Every pause feels like a mistake. By afternoon, she is scrubbing the lower hallway floors when she hears raised voices near the front parlor. I am telling you, it was right here, the guest insists. Someone must have taken it. She freezes, cloth in hand. Then she hears his voice. Calm. Firm. Different from before. May I see the list of who was working that area? He asks. She stands slowly, heart pounding, and peeks around the corner. He is standing near the fireplace, posture straight. No trace of the quiet guest from before. The head housekeeper holds a clipboard, clearly unsettled. This is an internal matter, she says carefully. So is the integrity of the people who work here, he replies. And I will not have accusations thrown around without cause. The room falls silent. The guest scoffs. Who are you to decide that? He does not raise his voice. He does not smile. I am someone who knows that if something is missing, he says evenly, it does not mean it was stolen. A few minutes later, the watch is found, tucked inside the guest's own coat pocket. No apology is offered. But something changes. The head housekeeper clears her throat. You may return to your duties, she says to her staff, eyes lingering briefly on her. She nods and turns away, legs weak. Later, she finds him by the back entrance, standing alone, coat in hand. Thank you, she says quietly. He looks at her, searching her face. You should not have needed defending. No, she agrees. But I noticed you did not stay silent this time. I learned something, he says. She crosses her arms, guarding herself. About me? About myself. She considers that, then shakes her head. You still do not get to decide when people deserve help. I know, he says. And I am sorry. The word hangs there. Unpolished. Real. She studies him, seeing not a test now, but a man struggling with the consequences of his own choices. You could have made things worse, she says. You could have drawn more attention. I was willing to risk that, he replies. Why? He hesitates. Because watching you stand there yesterday and take it, I realized I was not learning anything by staying quiet. I was just protecting myself. The honesty disarms her more than any gesture could. Before she can respond, the head housekeeper's voice cuts through the hallway again, calling him by name. A name she does not recognize. A name that does not carry weight to her yet. He turns toward the sound, then back to her. I will be leaving soon. She nods, unsure how she feels about that. As he walks away, she watches his back, her thoughts tangled. The house returns to its rhythm, but nothing feels settled. Because for the first time since she arrived, the balance has shifted. The man who came here pretending to be invisible has stepped forward. And the woman who tried to stay unseen has been forced to ask herself a dangerous question. What happens now that she knows she was never invisible at all? And more importantly, what happens when the truth he is still hiding finally comes into the light? The day he leaves, the house exhales. Suitcases roll across stone. Doors close softly. The last guests drift away with polite smiles and quiet relief. Decorations begin to come down almost immediately, as if the holidays were never meant to linger here. She watches it all from a distance. By late afternoon, her shift is nearly over. The head housekeeper gives brief instructions for the next morning, already reorganizing schedules now that the estate is returning to normal. No mention is made of him. No acknowledgement of what happened. In this house, moments pass without ceremony. She changes out of the uniform in the small service room, folding it carefully the way her aunt taught her. 3 days, she reminds herself again. You did what you came to do. Still, when she steps outside to wait for the bus, something feels unfinished. The sky is a pale winter gray. Snow crunches beneath her boots as she walks toward the gate. She reaches into her pocket for her phone, already bracing herself to read her mother's messages at last. That is when she hears her name. She turns. He is standing a few yards away, coat buttoned, bag at his side. No staff around. No audience. Just the two of them and the quiet stretch of road beyond the estate. I hoped I would catch you before you left, he says. She hesitates, then stops. You are the one leaving. He nods. Yes. They stand there, uncertain, like people who missed their moment and do not know whether it is too late to recover it. I did not plan for things to happen the way they did, he says. But I am glad I spoke up when I did. She looks at him carefully. You waited until it mattered to you. That is true, he admits. And that is something I have to live with. She appreciates that he does not try to soften it. I wanted to explain, he continues. Not to excuse myself. just to be honest. She folds her arms, more for warmth than defense. Go ahead. I came here to get away, he says slowly. From people who want things from me. From expectations. I told myself that if I stripped everything away, if I made myself ordinary, I could see who people really were. And what did you see? She asks. He meets her gaze. Someone who keeps her dignity even when no one is watching. The words land heavier than she expects. That does not make what you did fair, she says quietly. I know, he replies. It just makes it true. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Then he reaches into his coat and pulls out a simple card. No embossing. No grand title. Just a name and a phone number. There is something I would like to offer you, he says. But only if you want to hear it. And only on your terms. She looks at the card, then back at him. Is this another test? No, he says immediately. This time, the choice is entirely yours. She takes the card, feeling its weight between her fingers. What is it? She asks. An opportunity, he says carefully. One that does not come with conditions or expectations. If you decide it is not for you, that will be the end of it. She studies his face, searching for signs of manipulation. She finds none. Only restraint. I will think about it, she says. That is all I am asking. The bus appears in the distance, headlights cutting through the gray. She steps back, then pauses. You know, she says, being ordinary did not make you invisible. It just showed you what invisibility really looks like. He nods, accepting that. I am still learning. The bus pulls up. She boards without looking back. As it drives away, she stares out the window, the estate shrinking behind her. The card rests in her hand, unanswered questions pressing against her chest. She does not know what he truly is yet. She does not know what accepting his offer might change. What she does know is this. For the first time in a long while, someone saw her strength before they saw her circumstances. And that makes the decision ahead far more complicated than a simple yes or no. Because once you are truly seen, going back to being invisible is no longer an option. 3 weeks pass. Life returns to its usual shape, though it does not feel the same. She is back in the city now. Back to early mornings, crowded buses, and long shifts that blur together. The lake near her apartment freezes over, just like it does every winter. Her mother's medication still costs too much. Nothing magical has changed. Except for the card. It sits tucked inside her wallet, edges slightly worn from being taken out and put back too many times. She has not called the number. Not because she does not need the opportunity, but because she does not trust it. Opportunities, in her experience, always come with strings. One evening, after finishing a late shift, she walks past a community center near the train station. A banner hangs above the entrance. Winter Outreach Dinner. All are welcome. She hesitates, hunger and pride pulling her in opposite directions, then steps inside. The room is warm and crowded. Folding tables line the walls. Volunteers move between them, handing out plates, refilling cups, listening. There is no hierarchy here. No uniforms that signal who matters more. She takes a seat near the back, quietly eating, trying to disappear into the noise. Then the room shifts. Not loudly, not suddenly, just enough for her to feel it. People begin to turn toward the front. A man steps up beside the coordinator, taking a microphone. He looks familiar in a way that makes her heart stutter. The same calm posture. The same unassuming presence. But everything else is different. He is dressed simply, but with intention. He does not carry himself like a guest anymore. He carries himself like someone who belongs exactly where he is. Thank you all for being here tonight, he says. His voice carries easily, practiced but sincere. My name is being used a lot in rooms like this, but rarely in rooms like this one. A ripple of quiet curiosity moves through the crowd. I fund programs, he continues, that are meant to support dignity before profit. But until recently, I realized I had never stood on the other side of that equation. Her chest tightens. She knows. I spent time this winter living without the markers of who I am, he says. No title, no privilege, no protection. And in that time, I met people who showed me what integrity looks like when no one is watching. Her breath catches as his eyes sweep the room. Then they stop. On her. The coordinator clears her throat, smiling. We are grateful to have him here tonight. As the founder and chief executive officer of the foundation that keeps these doors open. The words land like a wave. Founder. Chief executive officer. The room breaks into applause. People lean toward each other, whispering. A few reach for their phones. But she cannot move. Everything clicks into place. The estate. The silence. The test. The restraint. He was never an ordinary guest. He finds her after the dinner ends. No rush. No security. No spectacle. I was hoping you would come, he says. She looks at him now with new eyes. Not anger. Not awe. Something steadier. So this is who you are, she says. This is part of it, he replies. The rest is still catching up. You could have told me, she says quietly. Yes, he agrees. I could have. And you did not. No, she studies his face, searching for defensiveness. She finds none. I needed to know, he says, who I was becoming. And I needed to know without the shield of my name. And I was part of that experiment, she says. You were part of the truth, he corrects. Whether you choose to be part of anything else is still up to you. She thinks of the card, of the choice he promised. Why here, she asks. Why this place? Because this is where I realized I was wrong, he says. Kindness is not something you observe. It is something you stand inside. She nods slowly. The revelation does not feel like betrayal anymore. It feels like a crossroads. For the first time, the power imbalance is visible. And for the first time, she gets to decide what happens next. Because now that she knows exactly who he is, the real test is no longer hers. It is his. The conversation does not end that night. It lingers. They sit across from each other at a small table near the back of the community center, long after most people have gone. Volunteers stack chairs quietly. Someone wipes down counters. Life continues around them, unbothered by the weight of what is happening between two people who now see each other clearly. I did not come here to impress you, he says finally. I came because this place reminds me of what I forgot. She studies her hands, wrapped around a paper cup that has already gone cold. You forgot what it is like to have nothing, she says. He nods. Once. And I forgot what it is like to be accountable. She looks up. Those are not the same thing. No, he agrees. But they are connected. She does not soften. She does not smile. You had the power to step in at any moment, she says. And sometimes you chose not to. I know, he says. And that choice cost me your trust. Yes, she replies simply. Silence settles between them again. This time, it is not fragile. It is deliberate. I did not ask you here tonight to fix that, he continues. I asked you here because I wanted you to see what I do when I am not hiding. And what is it that you want now, she asks. He takes a breath. I want to build something that does not depend on who I am, but on what is needed. And I want people who understand that need better than I ever could. She hears the carefulness in his words. The restraint. You are offering me a role, she says. Yes. Not a favor. No, not a reward. No, she studies him again. And if I say no, then nothing changes, he says. Except that I will know, I asked honestly. She leans back, processing that. I am not interested in being a symbol, she says. Or a story you tell about learning humility. I would never ask you to be, he replies. I am asking you to be a partner in shaping something better. If you want it. She thinks of the estate. The marble floors. The invisible lines she learned to walk without crossing. She thinks of the people in this room tonight, eating without fear of judgment. I would need to start from the ground up, she says slowly. Not behind a desk. Not in an office with glass walls. That was my hope, he says. And I would walk away the moment it stopped feeling right, she adds. He nods. That is how it should be. They leave the community center together, stepping out into the cold night air. Snow falls lightly, settling on the sidewalk, softening the edges of the city. At the corner, they stop. This does not mean I forgive you, she says. I know, he replies. And this does not mean I trust you, she continues. I understand. She holds his gaze. But it means I am willing to see what happens when someone with power listens. A faint smile touches his face. That is more than I expected. She turns to leave, then pauses. One more thing. Yes. Next time you want to learn how people live, she says, do not turn it into a test. He nods, solemn. I will not. She walks away into the night, the city swallowing her up. Behind her, he stands still for a moment longer, watching her go. For the first time, he does not feel the urge to follow. Because this time, the choice was never about control. It was about earning the right to walk beside someone, not ahead of them. And that is a lesson he knows he will spend the rest of his life trying to live up to. Spring arrives quietly. Not all at once, not with ceremony, but in small signs that are easy to miss if you are not paying attention. Snow thins along the sidewalks. The lake near her apartment begins to crack and breathe again. The city smells less like metal and more like rain. She starts the new role without announcements. No press release. No introduction that ties her name to his. On the first day, she shows up early at the community center, sleeves rolled up, hair pulled back, standing beside volunteers who do not know who she is or why she is there. She listens. She learns. She carries boxes. She makes mistakes and corrects them. He stays away, not because he does not care, but because he understands that this space is not his to occupy. He checks in only when invited. He asks questions instead of giving direction. And when he does speak, it is to listen longer. Weeks turn into months. The program grows slowly. Not bigger, but deeper. More people return. Trust builds in quiet ways. She helps shape systems that respect dignity before efficiency. She pushes back when something feels performative. She walks away from meetings that forget who they are meant to serve. He does not stop her. That, more than anything, tells her this is real. One evening, long after the center has closed, they sit together on the steps outside, sharing silence as the city hums around them. "You never try to fix me," she says. "I learned that fixing is another way of controlling," he replies. She nods. "And you never tried to save me." "That was the hardest part," he admits. "Because I was taught that helping meant taking over." She looks at him then, really looks at him, not as the man who tested her, not as the name people whisper, but as someone still learning how to stand in the world without armor. "You did not change because you lost something," she says. "You changed because you chose to." He smiles softly. "So did you." They do not rush what grows between them. There is no dramatic confession. No moment where everything suddenly becomes easy. Instead, there are shared meals after long days. Conversations that wander into the quiet hours. Laughter that surprises them both. When he asks her, finally, not for permission, but for partnership in something more personal, she does not answer right away. She takes time. And when she says yes, it is not because of who he is, but because of who he has learned to be. The following Christmas comes again. This time, there is no estate, no marble floors, no invisible lines. There is a modest community hall filled with light, mismatched chairs, and people who feel welcome exactly as they are. She stands beside him, handing out plates, greeting familiar faces. Someone asks how they met. She smiles and says, "At a place where neither of us belonged yet." Later, as snow begins to fall again, he takes her hand. "I spent years hiding behind wealth," he says quietly, "thinking it protected me. And I spent years thinking being invisible kept me safe," she replies. They stand there together, watching people gather warmth and food and connection, knowing they are no longer on opposite sides of the same divide. Because true change did not come when his identity was revealed. It came when power stepped back and respect stepped forward. And love, real love, did not arrive as a reward. It arrived as a choice, made freely, by both of them.